I loved grad school. I want students to leave loving their experience as much as I did. And when they're not loving it, I want to be there to try to help them figure it out. So I, like most of us, tripped into this field, but it's truly, I think it's where my greatest strengths have, this is so cheesy, but where my greatest strengths have met the world's greatest needs. I feel like student affairs is that Venn diagram of where I've ended up.
I love that.
Yeah.
See,
follow that up.
Yeah,
there you go.
I know.
There you go. You should have went first. You should have said, "I'll go first."
Mine is not as cool as that, but I feel like I also kind of stumbled into student affairs because I originally came to LMU for my graduate degree in screenwriting, and I was lucky enough to get a graduate assistantship in the Dean of Students office. So I was working closely with like Briana and Terry and other assistant directors at the time. And I really loved that, like, every day I would come in as a graduate assistant and it would just be like, no days would look the same. Like, it'd be like, hey, can you like count these shirts for, family weekend? I'm like, okay. And then it'd be like, hey, Trinity, we're helping, help me with Wellness Wednesday, or like, help me with this transfer event. And I love that we were always like either like outside or like doing something to help students. And I love that no 2 days looked the same. So when this opportunity for this job opened up my last semester of grad school, I was like, yes, this would be like perfect. Like, I've already been kind of like training for it 2 years as a graduate assistant, and then being able to be in the position to like create events. And naturally, being a creative person, I feel like creativity is really encouraged with like creating events, or like even like working with y'all to make like products for like veteran students and students on campus. So yeah, that was kind of my journey into student affairs, and I love it just because it's, I don't know, I feel like I'm so encouraged as a professional and then as a creative person to make the student experience as good as it can possibly be, and always, trying to change things and always keep things the way that they've always been.
I want Trinity, for her first major screenwriting project, to write a television show or a movie from the student affairs perspective.
No.
Yeah.
So I
love that.
That's what I want from her.
She didn't finish that. She meant about her, though.
Oh, yeah.
She can parrot me all she wants. That's fine. I'm like, I tell them all the time, the wackiest part of your job is going to be dealing with me because I'm. But so,
I feel like at the heart of it, right? I mean, why it's just fun, right? You're making sure that the culture of the campus is really portrayed into the students, right? To make sure that they love being on campus and want to stay there for all 4 years or however many years that they're there. So it's at the heart of it, just a really fun role.
Yeah.
And the constant change that happens and the keeping it fresh. We've talked with a couple of different student affairs professionals on the pod before, and they talked about how the longer you're in the division, every kind of cycle of students has different needs and different wants and different desires and different opportunities, and it keeps the job fresh. It's not the same thing for 20 years.
Yeah. Yes and no, right?
Yeah.
Because there are kind of two ways that there are two things you have to balance as a student affairs professional. I always joke, kind of in the iconic Matthew McConaughey quote from Dazed and Confused, like, I get older and they stay the same age. So they're always the same age. And for part of it, they deal with the same issues, right? Sure. So one of my earlier lives in student affairs, I worked in residence life for a long time. And I remember as I was supervising resident directors and resident advisors, kind of reminding them, this might be the 100th roommate conflict that you're managing over this topic. But for those two students, it's their first time going through that, right? So you have to balance that as a professional of remembering, okay, I might have been managing this conflict over, who cleans the dishes a million times, but these students haven't had to navigate that. And so you have to keep that in mind. And then the flip side, right? That things do change, right? Yep. And so the needs of our students 5 years ago are going to look different than the needs of our students today, and will look different 5 years. So if you're just trying to rinse and repeat every year, you're going to miss that. What do students need? So you kind of balance both of those things, because it is funny. Sometimes I sit back and, students will say something. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm getting old, I think. Because when I first started, I was only like 2 years older than them, and I'm a bit older than them now. So, but they keep you young and it keeps you having fun.
So how have you seen in your time in the role and on campus, the university itself like evolve? And I would imagine it's different heading into 2026 than it was in year one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can speak to that longevity clearly. I think one way that the university has evolved is that we have grown in population.
Yeah.
So when I first started, we probably had between 4,500 and 5,000 undergraduates, and now we're pushing closer to between 6,500 and 7,000, which on one hand might not sound like the biggest jump, but it's a jump.
Almost doubling capacity.
You know, it's a jump when you're thinking about classroom spaces, when you're thinking about residence hall spaces, when you're thinking about, you know, certain clubs and organizations that have like a capacity, a cap on their membership, right? So you have to start thinking about all those things when you're thinking about accessibility, when you're thinking about the student experience, when you're thinking about who you're serving, right? So we have that to contend with, you know, and because we put such a value on being a student-facing, a high-touch kind of institution, well, when you have more students but not more staff, how do you juggle that, right? So there's that I've seen change. We also have just recently reached both become a HSI, so a Hispanic Serving Institution, as well as an NAPC, so Asian, Native American, Pacific Islander, DESI Serving Institution, which is phenomenal that our recruitment efforts, you know, are continuing to create such a diverse campus. But again, recruitment efforts are only part of it. If you recruit students, but then don't serve those students authentically and genuinely, right? So that has had to kind of shift to make sure that we're continuing to create resources and funnel resources into the appropriate places to serve those students so that we are giving them a positive experience. So I think the size and who we're serving, our international student population has grown significantly in the 20 years that I've been there. So again, thinking about, from our perspective, right, when we're doing sexual violence prevention, we can come at it from a United States perspective, which we have to, but you also have to remember you're going to have a group of students in the room who have no idea what Title IX is. Sure. That means nothing to them.
Mm-hmm. Coming from different cultures.
Different cultures, right? To them, what one student from a U.S. perspective might say that doesn't, you know, that's not consensual. Well, from their country, they might say, well, what do you mean? That's okay in my country, right? And so how do you always challenge yourself to be thinking about, well, what programming, education, training are we providing? Who's in that space, and how do we kind of meet those needs? And so I think those are some of the ways that the campus has really shifted. But then again, being a mission-driven institution, how do we not lose sight of that mission? Right. So what is that? You know, as we continue to diversify students from multiple religious and faith identities, right? How do we continue to uplift the faith of a Catholic institution who maybe is only serving 50% of the population that identifies as Catholic, right? And there are ways to do it, right? And I think we do it well, but you have to make sure you're thinking about that, right? Because not everyone's going to have that background that's even going to understand. Right? We have students who are Catholic that might not understand what it means to be Jesuit, and you know. So I had a student in my office the other day who said, "So, if you're Catholic, you're not Christian?" And I said, "Well, no, you know." And so you have to be prepared. We have staff members who don't know, right? And so if you're not providing that same training to staff and faculty as they're coming to LMU, right, then you're going to lose that mission statement.
Yeah. No, I think the way that an institution, you know, develops over time, and especially in a faith-driven institution, it's a challenge, and it's a unique thing. And in a lot of ways, though, it's a blessing because you're able to keep that mission front of mind, and ultimately you're creating those experiences. And you know, for us here at Club Colors, we're all about creating experiences. And at the heart of a lot of experiences, especially in student affairs, is going to be merchandise and swag and whatever you want to call it. And those things, though, that create that experience when ultimately you've got a great event, you've got your Wellness Wednesday, you've got your family weekend, all these different touch points you're going to have. There's going to be promotions and different things that tie into those that help, you know, drive the mission and drive that experience and ultimately what they're walking away or how they're walking away feeling. What are some of the things that stand out to you in both of your times on campus that are just some of your favorite promotions you've seen, or even from peers at other institutions, just things that you've seen work well?
One thing that I'm like excited that we got to work on with Kevin to like order was what's like tumblers and like bento boxes especially for veteran students, because like I said earlier, they're commuters. So being able to start giving those out and getting them things that like they can actually put to use and like really appreciate and be like, oh, I'm so glad like we got this product like just for us. That was one of like my favorite things to work with Kevin on to get to order.
Yeah. Everyone loves merch and swag, right? So, and so that's the fun part about those things.
Yep.
And I have a perspective of those items. If we were looking at my desk right now, it would just be covered with so much product, that we pick up at, vendor fairs and different things. And so for me, what always stands out is what are those products that I want to hold on to, right? That when all of a sudden I get into purge mode, I'm like, I don't want to throw away, right? I have a hard time. And the thing about brand, right, too, is that, and what are those products that like really, you're like, oh my God, but that's my brand, right? And again, I think about, the schools that I attended. I have items that I still have been holding on to for 25 years that sit in the corner of my office because I love that thing, or when I see one of my mascots, I go running up, I need a picture. I used AI recently to create a fake picture of the 3 mascots of my alma maters all together so I could frame it for my office.
Oh, very cool. That's a great idea.
I know. I needed all 3 of them together. So, so anyway, so for me, when I'm looking at merch and swag is I'm thinking about what's that item people are going to want to keep.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit, and I bet there are people who disagree with me, but I think there's a little bit of letting go of ego when you buy merch. So I'll use Family Weekend as an example. When I create Family Weekend swag, we don't put the words Family Weekend on it. Yep. Why? Because this is not a Rolling Stones concert, right? Mm-hmm. No one is in 20 years going to be pumped to be wearing their LMU Family Weekend t-shirt, right, from 2026. I think.
Unless they won that lip syncing contest.
Unless they won the lip sync. That might be the,
That could be a separate t-shirt.
That could be.
Lip sync champ.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for me, if I'm going to spend money to buy 3,000 people t-shirts, I want them to wear them more than once.
Yeah.
And because I want people to love LMU as much as I love LMU, I want them to wear it no matter where they are in the world, right? I want people, if you're a family coming in from the East Coast, I want you to be repping LMU gear when you're walking around Manhattan. If you're an international family, I want you to be repping LMU gear, right? Wherever you are. And you're more likely to do that, one, if it's a quality piece of item.
Yep.
As Kevin, who is our amazing partner here at Club Colors, can tell you, I'm snobby about the t-shirts I want. I'm like, Kevin, I need to know thread count. I want to know how soft it is. I want to know if people want to rewear it. So I'm snobby about the quality of products. And I want, at the end of the day, sure, we could put Family Weekend on it. We could put student transitions and success, right? But students, most of the time, and families are not leaving thinking, I just engage with student transitions and success, right? They're thinking, I just engage with LMU, right? And so for me, sometimes I think you have to let go of ego, and sometimes you don't need to put your department on it, even though that means you quote unquote lose credit for it, I guess. But for me, we're all here for the same purpose, and that's to create an LMU experience. And so I'd much rather, so to go back to our Wellness Wednesday, every year we give our Wellness Wednesday vendors each shirts because it just says LMU on it. And then they go out and they wear it all around Los Angeles, and they have people say, oh, LMU, I've heard there, but I've never been there, right? Yeah. And so now they're repping LMU, right? And so when I think about swag, I want it to be quality. And then I also want it to be something that, again, when you're in that moment of like getting rid of things, you're not like, this is why I don't need this thing on my desk anymore. So to Trinity's point, like with the bento boxes and the tumblers, that's what our veteran students need to come to campus, right? Because they bring their lunches, they bring coffee in the cars, right?
And I think anytime you're using products that are practical and they're going to use them, I mean, that's why you're investing in these things. Is you're investing in it to help create an experience for them. And if that's making lunch on a Wednesday easy or commuting simpler, and you got that brand associated with the quality item that's helping facilitate that, that's a win all day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love to know what's creative, what's out there, right? I think, again, I love it when someone comes in my office, they're like, well, what do you think we should do for XYZ? Yeah. And I'm like, well, have you asked the students? And I'm like, no. what? Like, this is our audience, and their students are everywhere. Like,
Don't guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I sit in my office all the time, and and again, being a Jersey girl, I just holler for people. I'm like, hey, come in here. I need your opinion on things, right? I don't know what they want. I don't know what they like, and so I want them to tell me. And if I think to myself, I would never use that, it doesn't matter. It's not about me. So yeah, I think it. Merch, and students love merch. I mean, we have a colleague that said, are we getting T-shirts again for family weekend? And I said, I'm sorry, you're tired of T-shirts. But when I asked the students, like, what do you think your families would want? They're like, T-shirts, T-shirts, T-shirts.
Yep.
So, yeah. Like
that point's really funny because everyone asks us, right? Obviously, we do this for a living. They go, well, what's new? What's hot? Well, we'll give you those. But I always throw in there, I'm like, the number one thing, no matter what, you're going to get a line. It doesn't matter what just T-shirt. Everyone just loves it, right? It's obviously could be seen as a little bit boring, but it's just an age-old classic that people just line up, especially students that just line up for them.
I think one of the coolest things, I've been here for 10 years now. Adam's been here for what?
Chris, too long. Going on 15 in June. Decade and a half. We're counting in decades now.
I know,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. But I'm sure you've experienced this as well. Like when we get on the road, going through an airport, I've seen enough T-shirts now get made and printed in different designs and licensing approvals. I actually see these like out in the wild now. Oh, yeah. And it's the coolest feeling, like knowing we created something 4 years ago for whatever university out east, and I see it in an airport in Colorado. Like, it's so cool to see these things.
Or company backpacks or something. Yeah,
or company backpacks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have the same, even on campus. So one of the things that we did during Family Weekend this year is we almost had like a garage sale. So we took out in our storage closet, like we had probably 3 years of leftover Sexual Assault Awareness Month T-shirts that were left over. And, not a ton, but you have a box here, a box there. We took every T-shirt that was in our storage closet that was more than 1 year old. And next to the registration table, we just had tables, and it was just a free-for-all. And to this day, I see a student who I know is a first-year or second-year student wearing a Sexual Assault Awareness Month shirt from 4 years ago. Yeah. And they're walking around campus. I'm like, see, that student they love that T-shirt, right? And now they're repping to be an ally around sexual assault awareness, right, where they might not have been repping that shirt before. And so I have the same when I see students on campus and people on campus wearing shirts, or if I see, we bought these fleece jackets at one point, and I saw a couple of staff members not so long ago wearing them, and we bought them as like a hey, thank you for going above and beyond. And I saw a couple staff members wearing them who I knew I didn't give one to, and I'm like, I wonder who gave them their jacket. But I like I like that they're wearing it, Or when you have we get this all the time. We had this today as we were coming over here. I got a text message from our other team members saying someone came to our office saying, I know you guys have some leftover shirts. Can we use it for this purpose? Like, we'll pay you back, right? You know. We like to pride ourselves that everybody comes to us because we have the best swag, and we like that. We're like, well, sorry, not sorry. We just follow our philosophy, but we like the people who are jealous of our swag.
I love that. You think about that reputation of having the best swag on campus. Oftentimes that's going to align, though, with goals you have as a department and things you're responsible for. And what are goals for the department for 2026? What are you excited about heading into the future here for student affairs?
I think I am excited to create more events for students and see what they need or what could help their experience on campus. So this will be one program I take the lead on is Sexual Assault Awareness Month in April. And it was my first time doing it last year. And so this year I'm really excited to, we started planning already. So we started way earlier than we did last year.
There you go.
Yeah. And I really want to create some new events. And just see what the students need. I feel like that's one of my big goals to improve that program from last year, to constantly be making it better. And also I think another goal I have is to connect with more students. I feel like I got to connect with 2 or 3 students last semester, and it was such a great feeling, and made me feel like, oh, this is where I belong right now. This is so great. And seeing students feel better after talking to me, or having a better experience in class, or being able to direct them to a certain resource. So I think I definitely want to take some more time to check in with students, whether that's in our office or maybe I just see them out at Wellness Wednesday, and see what I can do to make their experience better on campus.
I guess how do you make yourself available for that? is it like office hours then, and like they know to come to you? Or
so
what does
like
that look like?
Maybe if I like see them at Wellness Wednesday, maybe we're able to have like a short conversation. But I'll be like, oh, I'm just in this building right here. Like, just stop by whenever. Like, maybe I'll give them my like card with my phone number on it and like my email. And then we schedule a meeting from there. Yeah, but I always encourage them to just like stop by because I'm usually always in my office. Just making myself available in that way.
Well, and you are not tooting your own horn here, but I'm going to toot it for you. So an example, though, of how Trinity is already doing this for 2026, and it goes back to veterans, and it actually connects to with like her intentionality around merchandise purchasing. But in her work with veterans in the fall, she hosts a monthly happy hour.
Okay.
We have an on-campus bar, and so a monthly happy hour. And one of the things they said to her was, what if we did a monthly coffee hour, right? Because they're all here in the mornings. And for some of them, it's harder to do, even though it's a 4:30 happy hour, an afternoon, right? And so she's implementing coffee hours at the student-run coffee shop once a month. And she's got the tumblers that she can hand out, right? The LMU tumblers. So I'm like, you didn't bring that up, but I was like, Trinity, you've already got this going on with a new program that meets student needs directly from the students. And she got merch to connect to that. And so you can find Trinity once a month at the Lion's Den, hanging out with veterans and having coffee.
Very cool.
We love coffee chats.
I was actually just going to say that as a suggestion. We are one of our co-CEOs, Chris. He does coffee with Chris a couple times a week. So he's busy in his own right doing that and with our employees. So I love that. It's great.
Yeah.
All about creating experiences.
I love it.
I think that the coffee idea, I love that. It's something that brings people together. You can bond over the coffee itself, and it's just a cool thing. That's really fun.
Yeah. Something else we did in the fall, Trinity and our other team member, Karen, really took the lead on it. So as you can imagine, right, finals time, students are studying, they're stressed, they've got things going on, they're looking for spaces. And so we decided we were just going to create a, wellness and well-being is very important to students and to us. So we just took a room offline right next to our suite and called it the Finals Decompression Zone. And Trinity and Karen, you all set up fidget spinners and
like coloring pages and just like inflatable chairs. Like students could like come in and sit in. Like some students took a nap in there, and like we had like cozy movies playing.
Oh, cool.
So the lights were off. We had hot chocolate going. One of our coworkers made homemade hot chocolate and homemade marshmallows. Yeah. We always had like food or snacks in there. And I walked in one day and I was like, oh, there's a student definitely asleep in an inflatable chair. But that's what we want, right? And it was the own space, and we heard students saying, oh, I love studying at the library, but it's really busy right now, right? And so, or you just need a break from studying, just come color a page for a minute. And so always trying to like look for, and the fidget spinners that we got were really fun, and so just trying to find the needs of students.
Is there a candy that is like the most sought out candy? Like you got to have Nerds clusters or whatever it is.
We go through a lot of candy in our suite. Yeah. Mainly the students who work there. You're really spoiled if you work in our suite. Let's be clear. We go through a lot of Blow Pops and Tootsie Roll Pops, Jolly Ranchers.
Lots of chocolates, I feel like, too. Yeah, like we have like Kit Kats and Snickers. Those are always flying out of the bowls we have.
But the Rana, who's our coworker, she, as I said, she made homemade cocoa and homemade marshmallows, and that was
so good.
Hands down.
It's a showstopper.
There were people showing up we heard Rana made homemade cocoa, and we were like, yes, she did. So they're like, not just out of a packet. No,
sounds like
it
could be a theme for a future event.
Yeah. She also spoils us, and like once a month, Rana will pull out. So here are a couple of examples, I think, of how we're always trying to create a student experience. So our department is nestled in a suite with the Dean of Students, as well as our community of care. So our students, our case managers for students of concern. So, we are the party people of that suite because, we're constantly putting on these big events and stuff. But Rana, who works with the Dean of Students, will, like, at least twice a semester, maybe more, will pull out her her portable griddle, and she makes homemade pancake batter. Oh, wow. And she'll bring in like homemade. She'll just be whipping up pancakes, And a student will show up for like a meeting with the dean or like a case management meeting, and Ron will say, yeah, just have a seat. So-and-so will be with you in a minute. Would you like pancakes? Do you want fresh blueberries in there? Do you want chocolate chips in there? And you see students be like, is this for real? And we're like, yeah, no, it's for real. We also a few years ago bought one of those kind of old-fashioned but big popcorn machines that are on wheels.
Yeah.
So we, at least once a week, whip up some popcorn.
The smell that comes out of those, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I used to run it for the Home Depot.
Yeah.
Wow, there you go.
I mean, people will come. We're on the third floor of a 4-story building, and people on the first floor will come up and say, are you guys making popcorn? We smelled it. We're like, yes, we are. And again, students will come in and say, I'm having trouble like figuring out my off-campus verification, and I think I have a hold on my account. And we help them get that hold off. And we're also like, and would you like some fresh popcorn while you're here? So again, we just want students to know, like, yeah, you're coming to the Dean of Students Suite, but the Dean of Students Suite is a fun place to be. And like, we want you to know, like, that regardless of what you're here for, like, this is a place that you can come and just, hang out if you want. So we have a lot of crazy things like that go on in our suite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You think about the last question for both of you. You think about all the time that you've spent in your careers, and, you've been in your role for a while. You're getting your career started in a lot of ways. You think about that decision to embark on this journey into student affairs. What words of encouragement would you give to students right now that are maybe considering maybe student affairs is something I could have a career in, or those young professionals that are just starting their career in student affairs that might happen to listen to this whole conversation? What would you give them for some words of wisdom?
I'd say to embrace change, because I feel like being on a college campus, what the students need and like what's going on in the world is always changing. Yep. So you may, like, maybe if something is happening, like especially now with like the state of the world and like the country right now, you might have to pivot and like create certain spaces for students, or be willing to, talk to them more. They might need to lean on like staff and faculty to like, have someone they can talk to, or like maybe like last minute, just like putting on an event so students have somewhere to go, or like resources. So I'd say like to embrace all the change that working on a college campus brings, because it can be like really beautiful too. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think, you have to find balance for yourself, and you have to think about your own well-being. But at the end of the day, higher education and student affairs is not a 9-to-5 job. There are days when you get to work a 9-to-5 day and you're like, awesome. There are days where at 4:58 a student walks in and they need something, and this is not a role that you take that you're like, well, I'm sorry, the office is closed now, so come and have your crisis with me tomorrow, right? And we've all been there where we needed that person at 4:58, and so again, you have to remember that there are times when, and guess what? And maybe that means the next day you don't roll in until 10 or 11, right? Or maybe you have to work, when for family weekend, we work 4 days of nonstop work, right? And so, then I'm going to make sure that they take time, in flex for that. But, this is not if you're looking for a 9, especially if you continue to move up, right, in the field. If you're looking to, move up in the field and you think I'm looking for a 9-to-5 job, that's just not that's not how humans function. And especially college students, and especially when you're in student affairs, you have to be willing to have that kind of flex space, I think. And I also, and part of the other thing, I think the benefit of student affairs, right, is that because if you're lucky, you have coworkers that you love. I love that sometimes I've all of a sudden look and an hour's gone by because we've gone to get coffee as a team, and then we just spend an hour catching up. Hey, Trinity, how's it going? Like, what? Oh, I remember your brother was just starting college. Like, so how's it going for him, right? Or, oh, hey, like you just went on this, Karen, you just went to Chicago for the first time. Like, talk to me about your experience. And an hour goes by because you're building community with your team, or a student walks into your office. I mean, we have some amazing students. I mean, the other day I had a student who just sat in my office and talked to me about his ideas around, he'd come to this revelation that he thinks race is a social construct, and he just went on and on. I was like, and things that I already know, but I loved to watch him go through this. Yeah. But 45 minutes later, I haven't done anything because I'm so busy listening to him talk. But that's worth it to me. If that means that night on the couch in pajamas, I need to do an hour of emails while watching TV, okay. To me, that's that's the beauty that I got to spend an hour with a student, is he really had a moment of like, oh, wow, I'm really getting into this thinking process. Or, I got to talk to a staff member about maybe they're going through a struggle, right? And so I think a career, when you're in student affairs, to remember that at the heart of our work is the person, the individual, the human, and that doesn't happen in a perfectly scheduled, sometimes I'm 1 foot out the door to lunch and someone walks in tears and I'm like, I guess I'm not having lunch right now.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? Because probably the next day I'll end up having a 90-minute lunch, and, it just kind of is. But I think that's the fun beauty of our work. And we have a lot of fun.
We do.
Again, if I can't take a break to pop popcorn or eat pancakes, then I think I'm in the wrong job.
Yeah, I'll tell you before Chris wraps this up. I mean, I commend you both you can just feel the passion, the pride that you both have, just not obviously only in the brand of LMU, but just to those students and the responsibility that you guys both play to them. So great job. It just feels like a great campus, and you guys are doing some great work over there. I know Kevin, and we've shouted out him a couple of times. I know he's been to campus a few times, but I feel like the need to get out there, get some pancakes and some popcorn, and get a feel for campus.
We need to send Xavier so he can have a competition with his pancakes.
Yes,
I think Club Colors retreat on campus.
That'd be fun. Really fun.
No, but Briana, Trinity, it's been a pleasure hosting you both today, hearing all the ins and outs of your career journeys and the passion that you both have for student affairs. It just really shines in the conversation today. So thank you both for coming in the club. It's been a pleasure, and safe travels back to California.
Thanks for having us.
This was fun.
Thank you.